So thank God that in every season, whether good or bad, whether hot or cold, right, God uses it to benefit you, to strengthen you. So like, if you're coming out of a season like me, as an example, where I'm coming from a season of a drought, a dry place. Oh, what do I mean by that? I mean that I've been distracted by other things, right? Not necessarily sin, just social media and other things. And so I haven't been like the Michael I know to be with God. And I felt like somewhat like a failure, somewhat defeated, somewhat lousy and sad and depressed on the inside. Now, stuff like this happens to all of us, I believe, from time to time. But it just goes to show you that you have to be edified, right? There's certain things that we got to do as Christians. By the way, I'm back. You know, like, I've been fighting to get back to where I'm supposed to be with God, and I want you to understand what it takes to come back and bounce back, and what kind of mentality you should have, etc. And so, just wanted to make a video on like the fact that I recognize that I'm nothing without Jesus Christ, and the Bible literally says that you can do nothing. Then the Bible also says that he who builds a house by himself builds in vain. And what I believe that means is like anything that you build on this earth in terms of your own image, in terms of you build it in vain, because it's not going to be everlasting. It's not going to last. Like circumstances could pull down that house, right? You've heard of billionaires losing everything that they have. Yeah, they built a house, but they built it in vain. So in other words, if you want something to be everlasting, eternal, something that's going to last forever, a legacy, etc., God's got to build it through your hands. In other words, you cooperate with God, and then God builds something that's everlasting through you, right? In order to do that, we have to cooperate with God, align ourselves with God, and see what God is saying and doing, right? Now, if there's something that I pulled from this dry season, it has to do with excuse me, I have to, I did a lot of cocaine when I was in the world, and now I have no cartilage, so I always have a drippy nose. So if you see me always wiping my nose in all my videos, has to do with that, like just the repercussions of my old life. So long story short, if I pulled something from like the old me, it has to do with the dry season I just come from. It has to do with my need for Jesus Christ. Look at your life when you're walking with Jesus, when you're, say, paying attention to Jesus, connected to Jesus. Look at how you feel, how you think, how you act, how you are, as opposed to not, and being in the flesh and doing what you do on your own, and see the difference there. That will right there be a nice memorial for yourself to say, there's a big difference. So like I mentioned, like sometimes we need that just to, it builds on the faith that you already have. It's like, well, I believe God was everything, this and that, but now I've been edified in that area to believe it even more and stronger, right? And so I've been able to see how much I can accomplish on my own strength and how much I accomplish on God's strength. And there's a big difference, right, between me and when I'm walking with God. Now God, when you're walking with God, He's abundant in everything, right? Like He'll show you visions and dreams of things that you can never concoct on your own, right? Like I mentioned earlier, a person can build a house on their own strength, meaning they can use their imagination to think up big, lofty things. But in the end of the day, whether they accomplish it or not, it's not eternal, it's not forever. So what we want to do is we want the hand of God in our life to establish our every step, to order everything about us. So that's what I wanted to share. I just wanted to let people know that, God, like, even though you have these dry seasons, even though you mess up, even though you fall short of the glory of God, etc., that he was waiting right there for me as soon as I decided to do a U-turn and return. Like, I didn't skip a beat with God. Like, God's like, okay, let's keep going. So it's the same with you. Like, we just have to acknowledge. I believe that a lot of this Christian faith has to do with acknowledging that God is enough and that he is everything that we're looking for. And we have layers to our belief system, that one layer could believe that, but another layer has to be convinced of that, right? We have layers like an onion. And that's where we understand that when we're pressed and under circumstances, we see a different layer come out of us, our personality, our identity. And it says, well, God got me out of the other one, but I don't know if he'll get me out of this one. That's a different layer to yourselves. That's why God said we move from glory to glory, faith to faith. But eventually God wants us to get to a point where we trust him with our whole life, where we're willing to die for him, where we're willing to do anything for him, right? Where we're completely devoted and submitted to him. That's like the end, right, of making it. So that, I just wanted to share with you guys, like, the journey and being real about it and showing you guys, like, it happens. It happens, because you can be flying high and doing great, but time itself goes, and curiosity and distractions and thinking like, so you can have knowledge and wisdom and understanding that there's nothing over there, but just doing this, like, you can still be led astray. Like, it can happen to anybody. So it just goes to show you, like, how much you have to be on top of your Christian walk, Christian faith, and this and that, right? To me, what being on top of it looks like and is like for me is not okay. I want to say this is good. My Christian faith, when I'm referring to falling off, looks a lot like other people's Christian faith, and they consider it to be tip top, like 2 thumbs up type of faith, right? And in my Christian faith, when I considered myself not really partaking with God that much, that I feel let down by, defeated and all that, I'm still going to church on Sundays. I'm still doing Bible studies, and I'm still, like, praying and all of that. So then, what are you really talking about, Mike? Why are you saying that you've been distracting this and that? It's because internally, where it counts, it's not an external thing. Internally, please get this. Externally, I'm doing those things, but internally, I feel dry. Internally, I feel like I need to spend time with God. Internally, I feel like I'm not getting fed enough. Internally, I feel like I'm not connected enough to get the nutrients that my soul spirit need, so that I could really feel the essence of God with me, in me, and through me, right? Like, it's cute to go to church and do all of those things, but that the mechanics of Christianity is not what God is looking for. He paid a price for us to give our life to him, and what that looks like is not the external, it's the internal. I've always said in all my videos, God is a God of the heart. And when it comes down to me coming out of this season, it has to do with paying attention to God. I really bring it down to that level. It's like paying attention to God, giving my heart, my love, my attention, my inner self to him, right? My inner dialogue in my mind, my inner dialogue of life, of how I see life, to God, right? As opposed of me being behind the wheel and managing everything and being distracted by social media and giving my time to all of that, which is really the main problem there as to why I became dry. And I want you to know that I was going to church and I was doing Bible studies. And although the Bible studies would give me some nutrients and whatnot, it gets a point where you need more, right? Your cup enlarges as you like walk with God longer and stuff like that. So, you know, when in the beginning you're drinking milk, and a small little bottle of milk is sufficient for you, right? But as you grow more and more, that's not going to suffice anymore. You want more of God. 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 And so it's like, it gets to a point where once you've had a measure of God and now the measure has decreased, you feel that. If you feel it. And it's in life and all of its pleasures never come close to the presence of God and having Him with you. So it doesn't scratch the surface. So that's I'm bringing it home so people can understand the justice of it all. It's like the justice is having God with you to where you know He's with you, and you know when He's not with you as to the measure that you want Him with you. He's always with you, but there's a measure that we're after. And the measure is for our cup to overflow or to at least be full. And my cup hasn't been full. My cup has had a measure. But this, to me, makes me feel really bad, lousy, and depressed. But for somebody else, it's a full cup. Or for somebody else, this is good enough. Because God is not the center of their life. So they're okay with that. So that's not okay with me. Because a person like me has in mind and in their heart to be the bride of Christ. And to be the chosen, the generation that He's coming back for in the rapture. So then that measure is not going to cut it when it comes down to Him coming back for His people. It's like He's going to be able to see who's sold out and who's not, right? Now, the last thing I'll say in this video has to do with that word sold out. Sold out is not a striving, it's a love relationship. You don't strive to be with God. You yield and submit willingly. Now, these are words that I'm using on purpose. Yield, submit willingly. How it has to do from an affection that you have for God, a love that you have for God, which you create with God through fellowship with God. So you have to create that in order to have that. But once you have it, you don't want to, if it decreases, then you know that it decreased, and you feel the effects of it, and you feel lousy. So then it makes you want to go back to your first love. So let's just end the video there. But this video has to do with like a roadmap to how to appropriate yourself in the ways of God, and to understand fundamentally that God is everything, and not to allow other things to come and put a wedge between you and God. But if it does happen, understand that it happens to the best of them, and it happens to everyone. And you know what? It's good to acknowledge, or it's good to have a reminder. It's good to have a reminder that God is everything, right? So that's beautiful.